Hey everyone, Kevin here. So we have a little bit of new insight into what we might expect to see debated on in stimulus package number 4, our phase 4 stimulus, aka CARES Act number 2. Let me give you a quick primer just to catch you up to speed. And make sure to stay to the end as well because I'll be talking about stimulus checks. And if you like this kind of content and analysis, do me a favor, hit that red subscribe button, turn that gray, be subscribed, be a member of the clan over here. Really appreciate your support. It really makes me feel good when I see y'all supporting the channel. Thank you so much. We know that Donald Trump wants infrastructure and spending for state and local governments. We know that Democrats want spending for state and local governments and testing. We also know that Democrats want more stimulus checks, direct stimulus payments, and the most popular, most likely from the Democrats right now is that emergency money for the People's Act, that $2,000 per month for everyone 16 years and older for an entire year of monthly payments. Pretty good. Now, on the flip side, we have Republicans kind of with their lips sealed on stimulus. It seems like they're okay with more spending for state and local governments. I think they realize they have to do that. They're probably going to be okay with infrastructure spending. They're pissed about China, but the whole China thing is a whole other debate that we could have. Right now, the focus, though, is this new Republican bill that was submitted to the House, because it gives us a little bit of clarity onto what's on the mind of our people in Congress, which I'll tell you, it is a mess out there. Democrat Chuck Schumer is complaining that Mitch McConnell in the Senate is not scheduling any debate this entire week on COVID-19 related bills. I have not heard Mitch McConnell's POV or a response to that other than Mitch McConnell says they're hard at work in the Senate. So now we're just going to focus on where things actually seem to be submitted, and that is the House, which remember, we need a bill to pass the House, to pass the Senate, and then it's going to get beamed up to Donald Trump to sign. And we've got a pretty good feeling that whatever gets beamed up is probably going to get signed off by Donald Trump. Because right now, we're all looking for action. We're looking for that extra stimulus. We're looking to get back to work, to reopen our economy, although obviously there are concerns over second wave and yada, yada, yada. But here's this new bill. So now that you've got this background, we have a Republican who has submitted a new proposal or is about to submit a new proposal in the House of Representatives. This is a veteran congressman. He's been in Congress since 2003. It hasn't actually been officially submitted yet, so we don't know how many co-sponsors this has. Ordinarily, it's not so important, but right now, because we're all clamoring to see, okay, where's the most popular bill right now? Where are senators and representatives gathering around? The amount of co-sponsors does matter. But anyway, this proposal hits on some very Republican elements that we're expecting to see in the next stimulus package. Remember, Mitch McConnell has said it is a red line that we must have liability protections for companies. Otherwise, we will not agree to any kind of stimulus package. On the flip side, we have Democrats saying we will not allow the consumers or ban the consumers from being able to sue negligent businesses. So in other words, Democrats are like, no, we don't want to give a blanket liability protections to businesses. And Mitch McConnell's like, we must have liability protections. So it kind of seems like there's a stalemate. Well, this bill actually found a kind of unique middle ground. This bill has to do with employees and employers. This bill is titled the Employer and Employee COVID Protection Act, and it, quote, provides all complying businesses with immunity from civil lawsuits if one of their employees contracts the disease. Now, this is actually very interesting because this says, hey, well, rather than worrying about the consumer right now, what if we just provide liability protection to businesses from their employees? So businesses won't get sued from their employees if their employees get sick. And in return, we'll give employees, this is part of the bill, I'm kind of paraphrasing now, I'll read the quote in a second. We'll give employees the right to either stay on unemployment or come back to work at their choice. This is kind of interesting because it's kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to get back to work, but it's your choice. Like if you feel it's not safe, don't stay home. But employers would be required to provide PPE. I imagine maybe have some kind of testing regimen or maybe temperature monitoring, obviously, masks and sanitization. But let's see some of the other things in here. The quote here was, this bill provides employees with heightened health concerns an opportunity to request special accommodations from their employer. and allow them to maintain eligibility for unemployment benefits if they still feel their risk of contracting COVID in their workplace is too high. Under the legislation, businesses that reopen and comply with federal and state safety laws will be immune to liability if an employee falls ill with the coronavirus. Additionally, this bill protects employees by giving them the ability to raise specific health concerns with their employer, end quote. And of course, if they feel like staying on unemployment, they can do that. Now, here's specifically how that unemployment part works, because it's a little more complicated than just, well, I'm just gonna stay home, I'll stay on unemployment. It says, if the employee is still unsatisfied with their working conditions, aka if you complain and you're like, yo, we need some masks and some hand sanitizer around here, and the employer does not comply, then, quote, they will be permitted to terminate their employment, and for purposes of eligibility for unemployment benefits, their termination will be, quote, through no fault of their own. So basically it's saying like, hey, look, you're gonna lose your job if you don't go back to work. If you go back to work and you get sick, you can't sue your boss. But if you decide that, you know what, I don't wanna work here anymore, you'll be eligible for unemployment. And it's not gonna like ding you in terms of qualifying for unemployment. Even though you can go back to work, you're choosing not to, you'll still qualify for unemployment. This, I imagine, would be the regular state unemployment rather than that $600 boost, which is ending this summer. Okay, so what does this have to do with stimulus checks? Well, a lot. It has to do a lot with stimulus checks, because if we are in a situation where we're in a stalemate, where Republicans say we want liability protections or else we're not doing anything, and Democrats are like, we're not giving you blanket liability protections, that's insane. Well, all of a sudden, we're not gonna see stimulus checks. This is just going to get kicked down the road for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and the stimulus just isn't going to come. But if we have a bill like this, which in my opinion is a very middle of the road, like this guy, and I'm not trying to defend him, I'm not trying to take sides or whatever here. This bill reads like a bill that's written by somebody who's trying to look at both sides. And they're trying to look at both sides and saying, okay, we understand Democrats don't want blanket liability protection. So we're not even talking about consumers here. What if we just address the employees in this case? So at least we could get the employees back to work. And maybe we deal with the consumers later. It adds this extra element we haven't thought of before. And if Democrats are okay with this, and if Republicans are okay with this, then we might see Democrats and Republicans also include additional stimulus in this kind of package. So I could imagine a package that looks very much like this. Funding for state, local governments, funding for hospitals, funding for infrastructure, state, bridges and highways and roads and that sort of stuff. That's very important for Donald Trump. So now we got everyone happy here. We have the Republicans happy with liability protections from employees. We have employees that have the option to go back to work. They're the ones who have lost the right to sue their boss if they go back to work and they get sick with the Rona. And then consumers, we might see, hey, you know what, we'll pick up the consumer problem in the future if that ends up being a problem, but at first we're dealing with the big employee problem. Hey, by the way, to help the consumer, why don't we also get the stimulus checks in here? Let's get a payment going, like the $2,000 per month. That's a package that I could see coming together. To me, that sounds like it hits a lot of the targets on all sides. Now, is it going to be $2,000 per month for 12 months? I don't know. That might end up being a negotiation argument, right? Maybe instead of $2,000 for 12 months, it ends up being $2,000 for 3 months, and then it's like renewable periods, right? Maybe that'll make it more interesting to Republicans. Now, in the meantime, if you like free things, make sure to get 2 free stocks, 2 free investments with the stock trading platform Webull. There's a link for that down below, right next to the link for life insurance and my awesome programs that teach you how to make money, learn the psychology of negotiating and money. Negotiating is a lot more than just an arm wrestle fight. If you learn the psychology of negotiating and money, you will almost guaranteed build your wealth. So get your 2 free stocks, sign up for life insurance on your phone. It's a crazy time right now. And we'll see you in the programs. I go live every morning at 9 a.m. that the market is open to help answer your questions and analyze your finance and money decisions. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.